Starting a blog. Don't host with BlueHost or GoDaddy. A web host is essential to blogging, especially with SEO and site speed. If you look up best web host on Google, you'll find tons and tons of articles recommending BlueHost. In fact, even recommends them. Before you sign up though, read this. BlueHost along with HostGator, iPage, and 80 other brands are owned by hosting giant IG Endurance International Group. If you haven't heard of them before, they have a large reputation in the web hosting market of gobbling up and buying out small medium-sized web hosts, consolidating their infrastructure into one data center, and outsourcing and combining all their support staff. The result? Overloaded web servers, downtime, slow websites, and lots of support issues. You want to change hosts? Sure. Due to the sheer amount of companies they own, there's a good chance you'll just move to another host they own. Gradually, many people start to assume all web hosts are the same and that the quality of IG-owned companies are the norm. But XYZ blogger / website / review recommended BlueHost / HostGator as the one web host. Simple. Money. BlueHost pays at least $65 per person you refer that signs up. These rates can go up to hundreds per referral, which quickly adds up to a lot for blogs, and even companies or non-profits like sources say they pay WP $120 to $150 per sign up. That need the money. If you read them, you'll even find a lot of reviews aren't even reviews. They literally state what features a host offers and comments on their pricing. Write something bad about an IG host? They'll pay you to shut up. Can't find the link right now. Will update if I do. But there are documented cases of BlueHost reaching out to bloggers that write poor reviews and offer them extremely high affiliate rates to remove the review and promote them. I've been using BlueHost for X years. They work fine for me. Not every plan is the same, and you might get a server that is less overloaded and get decent performance. But the price to performance ratio you'll be getting will be far lower than what you get basically anywhere else. As a developer, I've had many clients reach out to me saying my WordPress website is slow. Why? And the first question I ask is, who is your host? 90% of the time it's BlueHost or GoDaddy or HostGator. Not saying you can't get good performance with them, perfectly possible with the proper setup. But the time you spend trying to optimize will be far more than what it takes to use any other web host. But they host over 2 million websites. Maybe you just had a bad experience. There are hundreds of thousands of other people who've been disgusted by BlueHost and move away. Yet, BlueHost still gets millions of customers because of a few reasons. 1. They make you pay 3 years in advance to get a special discounted rate. 2. Most don't know any better. 3. They switch to another IG-owned web host and discover it's no better. I've also personally moved over 100 people away from BlueHost, HostGator, GoDaddy, iPage, A Small Orange, Site 5, just to name a few, because they weren't happy with the performance, security, or support, and the difference is night and day. Don't believe me? Just look at the Trustpilot reviews for BlueHost, or on Reddit, here and here, or here, or here, or here, or here, or Twitter. GoDaddy and its parent company run a similar scheme, though they don't own as many companies by far. They do, however, engage in practices like charging inordinate amounts for SSL. Basically everyone provides it for free, attempting to upsell service to you at every corner, and also cramming a ton of site on one server, resulting in slow websites. Want to start a blog? Do yourself, your visitors, and your web developer a favor and use any other web host besides IG-owned ones and GoDaddy. I want to upvote again. And again. This is an excellent article. I hope you blogged it. In the world of hosting you basically get what you pay for, GoDaddy being exception, you can't even expect that much. I love my host. But they are not cheap. I host with InMotion hosting. No one pays me to say that. Again, thanks for the great article. Good idea. I probably should have posted it there first before Reddit though, haha. Yes. I think it is a critical part of building a web publication profile. Always publish your articles to your self-managed media platform, under your domain name. Distribute from this. I wrote a post about this very subject. Namecheap is who I've been using for years and never an issue and great service. Seconding this. A better list of IGONed companies can be found at Research as a Hobby, since the Wikipedia entry doesn't list all the companies, something along the lines of Wikipedia moderators don't want to list all the companies. I'm not affiliated with Research as a Hobby or with Wikipedia. Good call, updated. I literally paid for a subscription a few days ago with BlueHost. I chose the recommended plan, which is more expensive. But I have no issue, honestly. I guess the bad experiences don't apply to everyone. Well, I hope so. Yeah. For what it's worth, I've had BlueHost for a year and no issues. Zero downtime. Cool. Thanks for sharing. What is your plan? I just have the basic shared hosting. I only have one domain. Yes. Never use BlueHost. As a software dev, I feel so bad for people tricked into using these companies. What about Namecheap? Namecheap is great for domains. Hosting is meh, but better than GD and IG. AWS for me. I would never go with GoDaddy. Overpriced. I'd argue AWS is overpriced. Why specifically AWS vs Linode or another cloud? Fair point. It's what I'm most familiar with now, since I use it professionally at work. Thereafter, I started to find personal uses for it for hobby projects. I had a short-lived hobby blog on a GitHub page which was free prior to my current on AWS. Yeah. If you don't need the tight integration with their other services or enterprise-level customization, there are probably cheaper options. A 5 node has 1 vCPU and 1 core, 25 GB SSH, and 1 TB of bandwidth. That is less than just the instance cost on AWS alone, no storage or bandwidth. 7-8/month. AWS Lightsail is competitive to Linode. For simplicity, I went with Lightsail since it was like a batteries included approach to get my WordPress page up. Linode has one-click WordPress installs too. And personally, I found them to have better performance than Lightsail and much better support. But they are similar. Any thoughts on Big Scoots? Never used them personally. But they aren't a huge plus and seem decent. So what do you recommend to use instead? I use SiteGround and they're great. 1. Well said. The HostGator/BlueHost affiliate campaigns offer bloggers very generous terms. In fact, many of them have built full-time incomes just with these affiliate relationships. This is why so many of the generic, typical blog gurus promote them so strongly. Page loading speeds are critical for web publication. You don't get good results from these consumer-grade hosting services. Good to see someone being honest. As someone with limited knowledge, How would I move away from BlueHost without destroying my whole WordPress blog? I've thought about moving plenty of times, but I don't want to lose 4 years of work. 1. Backup everything and save that to your local PC. 2. Migrate your site. Including the database and files, I recommend WP Vivid. Are WPX a good choice? I am on BlueHost, but in no hurry to change as it was a beginner setup and learning experience. But I want to change once the introductory cheap rates expire. No way will I stay with them. They seem pretty good. I've been meaning to try them out for some time. Cannot upvote this enough. Agree completely. I tried BlueHost and HostGator around 8 years ago and the performance was horrendous. Took 16 seconds to load a basic WordPress site that took 2 seconds to load once I moved. These days, if I ever see a blog recommending BlueHost at all, then it's clear to me that profit is more important than their readers and I leave their site. Even worse are those bloggers that say, yes, I get paid by BlueHost if you sign up, but I only recommend them because they are good. Honestly, the cost of a VPS or even a low-end dedicated server is so cheap these days that it is worth learning the basics of Linux command line to save yourself so much hassle. $20 a month buys me a dedicated server with 16 GB RAM and 2 TB storage from Kimsufi. Best thing I ever did. $20 can get you a decent host. If you don't have sysadmin experience, I don't recommend doing this. Properly securing a box, making sure nothing bad happens, etc. takes more than just a few YouTube tutorials. What if something fails and your site goes down? I had no sysadmin experience and have been hosting my site for 6 years now. I still don't know how to do much without Googling it first. Glad that works for you. I personally wouldn't recommend a self-managed VPS to anyone who doesn't under the basic of securing and optimizing it, as well as disaster recovery. But for everyone out there that does at least do these things. 1. Properly maintain your firewall, either cloud/hardware or iptables, and make sure there are no open ports that shouldn't be open. 2. Use fail2ban or the like to block brute force and some DOS attacks. Whitelist your IP. 3. Use very strong root passwords, even better. Disable root login and passwords and use key-based auth, or even better, disable SSH from everywhere except your IP or an internal VPN. 4. Recommended, but optional, use mod security with Apache to block XSS, SQLite, and other basic attacks. 5. Keep off-site backups of your server, or at least your websites and databases, weekly, at a minimum. 6. Run an up-to-date version of PHP 7.2 at a minimum. 7. 3 or 7. 4 recommended. 7. Use a Linux distro that is supported, at least Ubuntu 18 or CentOS 7. 8. Run weekly virus scans with something like ClamAV. 9. Watchdog or the likes to automatically restart failed services. 10. Service monitoring like Uptime Robot to alert you when something fails. I'm with BlueHost and according to page speed insights my site is perfectly fine. I've said this in another comment, but fine is relative. Have you compared it to another host? If you are willing to share, I'd love to take a look at your site and break it down in depth. Can I PM it and you can post your feedback here? Sure, thanks. So I just started like a month ago with BlueHost. I paid for I guess I'm gonna let the first year pass and then move to another host. I'm still learning and this was a big shock, because almost every blogger recommended BlueHost. I'm not gonna lie, because I just started I don't have any issues. because my site is loading great and I will definitely consider moving to another host. If it's just a month, you may still be able to get a refund. I believe at 45 days. Great is relative. A 2 to 3 second TTFB or 500 milliseconds RTT could be good compared to a 10 second TTFB. Would you be willing to provide your site URL? So I can break down for everyone else to see just what exactly is wrong? Yeah, sure. Guru, wake up. I'm gonna check if I can get a refund. But how can I move to another host without losing my content I already posted? Cloudflare's full HTML cache is something that makes a huge impact, yet I see very few people take advantage of. Good job setting that up. Right off the bat. Here's an issue I see. I entered your site without the HTTP and it took almost a full second to redirect to HTTPS. In case it's just my internet. _3Z _F114 BBC 508 OP4 BD1C7 E698 A58 F7 F1 FD/1 /details/ waterfall _view step 1. Cloudflare will cache this for future requests. But they purge inactive files after a few hours/days. You can enable HTTP to HTTPS at a Cloudflare level to speed this up. But it says a lot about the server itself. A redirect requires almost zero processing. 1 second is utterly ridiculous for a server in the US. Pretty sure all BlueHost sites are in Phoenix or Dallas, tested from California. We also see that the processing time itself takes another few seconds. 4-2. Although you are running Wacom Jetpack, 2 heavy plugins don't seem to be using Woo. Why is it activated? But a few seconds is honestly too long. That's how long users have to wait before even a style sheet is loaded. For a decent shared host, I'd estimate a good target time would be 200 to 500 milliseconds. Uncached. Your site's pretty aggressively cached, which is good. And that helps alleviate some speed things. That said, for users who hit uncached versions, your site will definitely still seem slow, given the server itself seems quite slow. A few more tips for speed. Do you really need Jetpack? See if you can find a lighter alternative to the features you need from JP. If there aren't many features enabled, disable WooCommerce. Implement HTTP/2 push for core CSS assets. Unload the OWL's lighter.js and CSS files when it's not being used. Get a new host. OMG, I don't know if I understand all of. I'm gonna do my best to fix everything. What host do you suggest? Jetpack was already activated on my website BTW. They advised me not to deactivate SY. I never really looked into all of that. And I wanted to set up MailChimp for my email list. But I couldn't set it up without installing WooCommerce. I'm still new to all of this, so I'm really happy I saw your post. I don't know about you, but personally I've been using HostGator for a long time with zero issues. Their customer service is pretty great and the performance is good compared to the price I'm paying. Good is relative. Have you tried and compared it to another host? I got shared hosting for about $50 per year and the performance on my website is good. But to be fair, I spent a lot of time optimizing it to get it to a good level. But for the price I think it's good. I do however know that Kinsta is better and I will migrate to it once I want to level up my game. But I like to start things this way, then upgrade to a more premium hosting service. Edit. Also, for the customer service, I don't see how it could get better from my experience. I contacted them multiple times and they've always either answered my questions or went as far as checking my website's code and fixing it, even though I got the cheapest plan. They also respond in a matter of seconds or sometimes minutes. There are many great budget-priced shared services, basically anything. IG or GoDaddy for you out there that'll destroy HostGator. Imagine if you combine those optimizations with a good host. Like what exactly? I just know about Kinsta and WPengine other than HostGator and BlueHost TBF. A lot of other names are thrown around here. DreamHost, A2 Hosting, InMotion, are all decent. Especially with hosting though. You usually get what you pay for. Edit. That's actually quite a surprise. Could you elaborate on how they checked your website's code? Or claim to? I understand there are a few exceptions to their poor support and I'm just curious. In my experience, DreamHost is worse than BlueHost and GoDaddy. Fair. Other. Be warned. I've used them for a few sites and they are pretty good compared to others I've tested though. But they could be a hit or miss. Could you elaborate on your experience for others considering DH? To be fair, I last used them nearly 10 years ago at this point. I started using them in the early 2000s and recommended them for all my clients. I had about 20 sites on various plans from shared hosting to dedicated servers. We had numerous billing issues to start. Servers were down all the time. I think the worst one had a 75% uptime over a year. Another one was down for 3 days straight in the middle of the week and we weren't getting any replies back to support emails. Customer service was okay overall. But way too often it was no problems found. Try again. They could never explain the downtime. I finally got sick of it. Moved some clients to GoDaddy. Moved others to BlueHost. Moved a few to IWF hosting based on recommendations in the sub and one of their support people used to hang out here. And 3 or 4 various other hosts. GD and BH didn't serve my clients much better. And I ended up losing one totally because of it. About 4 months later I ended up moving everyone to IWFH and didn't look back. I don't have clients anymore. But I still maintain my own sites there with no real problems. IWF hosting. One for iWeb Fusion, another good host. Thanks for sharing. Can't say they haven't been without issues. Accidentally charged everyone double one time. But for me and 9 clients on their platform, it's been quite good. Albeit, encounters with support regarding technical questions are few since I generally take care of them myself. Hey, please tell me, is hosting good? I read about it and it seems good to me. What's your opinion? Hosting is okay. They had some weird marketing issues. But the hosting themselves seems acceptable. I use SiteGround. It hasn't been long but I haven't had any trouble yet. SiteGround was pretty good. I think they've been going downhill recently though. Too late, I'm already with BlueHost. Good luck getting this to the top of Google search results so others can use different web host platforms. Not really. It's easy to switch your account over. Heck, most hosts will even do it for you these days. Even if I've already paid for the year? Yep. I'm still within the money back period for BlueHost and want to switch to a different web host platform. Is it possible to transfer your domain name to a new platform? Thanks. Might not be able to transfer the domain registration. But you should be able to point it to another host. I use Infinity Free Hosting, new to running a blog, still building and learning how to develop and build up reputation. Infinity Free is great, start out for free, never had downtime even on a subdomain for free in over a year. I tested before a real domain with them. I don't know how they do with high traffic or how their paid plans are, but they seem good to me. Don't even host important sites on free web hosting sites. They have no obligation to properly maintain their disks, service, or data because you aren't paying. What if a drives fail and you lose your data? I don't intend to stay free. I also get exactly where you are coming from, but it's all I can do at this time. Starting with nothing and building up learning as I go. When I can, I intend to pay for the services, as I still don't have SSL certificate and all that, but I like to fully understand what I am getting into before spend money on anything, especially a service like this where it is a key factor to being successful. I am new, but I do my research before I actually invest. For dev/learning. Hosting locally is a much better idea. Some good hosts even offer free dev environments. Pantheon.